I'm ready whenever you are. If you want to start us off.
Okay. Hey, everybody. Thanks for tuning into the Dumb Dad podcast. My name is Kevin, and I'm a dumb dad.
Hello, my name is Evan, and I am a dumb dad. Hey, pal.
Hey, buddy. How's it going?
You know, it's going, and things are, it's ups and downs. It's all around, and I'm confused most of the time. But I'm very excited because today we have a very special guest with us. It's going to make us feel better about all the things we do wrong.
Oh, excellent. That's
Right?
that's a tall order.
Well, you know, no pressure. But anyway, we want to introduce today Dr. Helen Egger. She co-created Little Otter, which is a mental health app, website, company that supports children and their families dealing with mental health issues, really kind of all kinds of issues. But Helen, thank you for joining us, first of all.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm really, do I get to call myself a dumb mom, or you just
Yes.
call me
By
a
all
dumb
means.
dad? Okay, so I'm joining as a dumb mom of 4. So
Yes. Welcome.
I mean, I can't imagine how inaccurate that probably is, but we'll take
well,
it.
I would probably think it's probably the same for you too as well. But there you go. We're
Yeah.
all in this club.
Yeah, we're
So-
trying to take the dumb trope back. Like, that's why we actually started the whole dumb dad thing, was to be
Yeah.
like, we're
Yeah.
not as inept. And then now, since we've tried to take it back, we realize we are just as inept. And
Helen, if you wouldn't mind just giving us a little rundown of like how Little Otter came to be, a little bit of your background and how Little Otter came to be,
Yeah.
and then we would love to get into some of the conversations we're going to get to have together today.
Excellent. Thank you. So I'm a child psychiatrist, and I founded Little Otter with my daughter, which is one of the most amazing opportunities in my life. And my background is in academic medicine, do research in early childhood mental health. I've run large child psychiatry programs at Duke and at NYU, and really came to feel like, wait, we need new solutions. That, we've got great things happening in a lot of the academic centers, but it's not reaching families. And we were in a mental health crisis before the pandemic, and it's really gotten worse. So the other thing is, I really believe the only way we're going to get better care to families is if we innovate and we use technology and we use telehealth. Because, you don't always have the person right there in your community to go see. And so that's where Little Otter comes from. And my daughter has an amazing background in tech and product and design. And so we brought our expertise together to create Little Otter. And we take care of kids 0 to 14 and their families. And with a very family-centric approach, we take care of, as we say, you don't bring a problem child to Little Otter, you join Little Otter as a family.
So I wanted to say we've been, Kevin and I have been lucky enough to be working with Little Otter and have been for the last few months, and have enjoyed every aspect of it. What was so fitting, I thought, and what you just said there for families and kids 0 to 14, is that my son was going through showing some signs of anxiety about going to school, and kind of mom and dad are staying home, but I'm at school, so I'm separate. It's like separation anxiety, these kinds of things. And it started to, he started to get feel sick to his stomach before he would go to school. And we thought, and I've dealt with anxiety for a lot of my adult life. And it was just kind of like that. These feel like early signs, potential of something. So maybe we could talk to somebody. And before Little Otter came to us, we were looking up, my wife and I were looking up, where can he maybe go see somebody? Now it's pandemic, so is there a potential in speaking to somebody on the computer, or how do we go about that? And what was fascinating was that most companies, or anybody that we found, it was for 12 and older.
That's right.
And and we thought that was really interesting. And he's he just turned 7, but he was essentially he was 6 at the time. So a little bit about that, is there a reason that you target that age?
Absolutely, 100%. So the reason is, that's what I'm an expert in. So my life's work has focused on children 0 to 6, and then also as they grow from that time. But I'm passionately an early childhood mental health doctor, because little kids have mental health challenges like anxiety disorders at the same rate as older kids. We think it's just, these are stuff that just happen to teens, But the second thing is, the earlier we can identify things, and we've got great interventions, it has such a big impact on the child going forward. We prevent so much suffering and distress if we can catch things like you did with your son, right? That's so powerful. Like, instead of being like, hey, pull yourself together, you're fine, you don't have a problem, you listened and you had your own experience. So you could say, wow, this feels a lot like what I've experienced, and then get him help. And that's the power. That's what we want at Little Otter, for families to be able to ask the question, should I be worried? Is this something that we need some specialized help with or not?
Yeah.
And then if you do, to be able to get it in a place that, there are very few people who have expertise in early childhood mental health. So that's why we knew we had to be an early childhood company, because I want to share the work that I've done and my colleagues, and really get the word out about young children and mental health.
Why is that? Why is it that it's only most of the companies start at 12? Is it just something that's only been recently not discovered, but like appreciated or noticed?
Well, it's a few things. I think that is true. So when I started in my career at Duke doing early childhood mental health, people would literally laugh. They'd be like, ha ha, you're putting babies on couches. That's dumb. It's not going to.
Well, yeah, because they're going to roll off. I mean, that makes sense.
Exactly. And but what made the change? I mean, I've been doing this work for 30 years.
Yeah.
If you do good science and do good work, it changes people's minds. And what we've been able to do in the field is not just say that this happens, but show that it happens, and follow children and learn about children. And that is, so there's that piece. The other thing is, taking care of younger kids is harder than taking care of teens and young adults and adults. I mean, always in child mental health, we want to involve the family. But if you have a 4-year-old, a 5-year-old, a 2-year-old, a 6-year-old, you can't just sit them down in a chair and say, please tell me about your depression. And are you having panic attacks, and what triggers it? You have to bring your knowledge about observing young children's behaviors, like, for example, tummy aches, and realize that tummy aches and pains and headaches is one of the ways young children tell us that they're experiencing emotional distress. The other thing is, you're always working with the family, right? You need to work with parents and children. You need to work to really help a young child. Maybe mom is depressed. I'll tell you that it may be one of the most important ways you could help a young child who's having problems, to help that child's parent be able to get mental health care. That's going to have a big impact on the kid's mental health.
Yeah, for sure.
I can only imagine that's help the helper, because that's who the child looks to for guidance and all these things. I mean, it's so funny when you become a parent. It's something I've thought about a lot, is that it's almost like I come to the realization, like, it is full circle. And I never having imagined myself as a parent or had the perspective of a parent. I mean, it just, not only does it doesn't necessarily change your perspective, it adds a massive perspective, I would say. Because I still have my own personal perspective of my experiences and things that, as I grow as a man and I use that term very loosely. But as a father as well, it's like I'm learning here too, and so it's, I think in so many ways as parents, you feel lost a lot of time, or I don't know what to do here. Or I think that's one of the things I like about Little Otters, that it's which is probably the question a lot of parents ask: when do I know if this is something that I should be addressing, or is this like, because sometimes you feel very alone in that way, even as a couple with a couple kids, you can feel alone. Like, is my kid the only one that acts like this or does this, or is it, and who has the answer to that, and this is exactly what this is.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think that it's not just our experience as adults we bring to understanding children, it's remembering our experiences as children. and having compassion for ourselves as kids and what we
Yeah.
went through, and wanting sometimes to do it the same, but sometimes to do it differently, because we remember, I mean, it was a different era, at least when I grew up, and many people did, and how we can bring forward the feelings and experiences that we had as little people, and recognize that in our kids, and really honor that the way we would in our own life.
Yeah, for sure. I remember I actually talked about this on the last podcast, but
Yeah.
how my daughter like had fallen asleep. She does this thing sometimes where if she's like gets mad about something, she doesn't do it a lot, but every once in a while she'll go to bed and we'll be like, you can, but
Yeah.
it's like dinner is in like 20 minutes, and she's like, I'm gonna go to bed, and she'll be asleep. It's happened like 2 or 3 times, but this other time that it happened, um, she woke up at like 9,
Yeah.
having taken quite a nap, and so we were like, hey, what's up? Your brother's asleep. Do you want to hang out? And just like popped a movie on, got her
Yeah.
some food, and then she hung out. And I remember that experience to a degree when I was a kid, of like when you stay up late, and um it really brought me back. It was like one of those moments I was like, oh my gosh, I know what she's thinking. Like I know what's in her brain right now, how
Right.
exciting this is. Of like, this is cool. Like we're staying up
Yeah.
late.
And it's
And
something special, right?
yeah,
They,
and
they
it's like those are the things I want to connect with, like other situations too, because if I can remember those, I certainly can remember like the not
I
great.
also want, can I give you a little insight into your daughter going to want to fall asleep? That's an awesome coping skill that she's demonstrating there. To me, what she's saying is, I'm overwhelmed.
Mhm.
I really can't handle this situation right now, and I need to regroup and rest and be able to come back. So I think just to even think about that shows a kind of, I mean, I don't want to say she's thinking this through, but that
Yeah.
she has a way to take care of herself when her feelings overwhelm her.
Oh, that's good to hear, because my wife and I were definitely like, I don't know, what are we doing here?
Well, I'm going to support you in that. I think that you handled that really well.
Oh yeah, well, good, thank you.
It's funny that you say that, Kevin, because there are so many things your kid does. You think like, no, this could be like a very like, wow, prideful moment, or we're in trouble here.
Yeah.
Which is, I mean, this is kind of like we keep talking about. This is what Little Otter is for. Like, when do you recognize? So let me ask you, kind of piggybacking off that. So my son, when there's a few weeks there, and it's happened once in a while since, but like it manifests itself into like he's worried. I think what has happened is he's feeling anxiety about going to school. So he's going to be at school and away from mom and dad.
Mm-hmm.
And so he said a couple of episodes he had at school that he was worried that like we could get hurt at home, and he won't be there. And of course the adult take on that is like, well, you're 6. I mean, I don't know what you're going to do, even if you could maybe call and get help, of course, but it manifests it into like his stomach didn't feel well. He kept asking to use the restroom. And, is that almost maybe he's not coping with it, but is that he doesn't know how to process these major feelings he's having that consume him, that overwhelm him.
Right.
And like one of the things about anxiety is like once it's like he kind of gets locked into that thought process and he can't get out of it.
Right. Right.
And so it manifests because he doesn't know he doesn't have any tools to deal with it right now, or he doesn't really know that that's happening to him. It manifests into like a physical manifestation where he doesn't feel good, or is that kind of the same? Is that just how a different kid deals with it, or?
Well, so really interesting. I mean, this is the fear that something bad is going to happen to your family members when you're away is a core symptom of separation anxiety. It's common. Many, many children have that worry, right? They worry either that something bad it's a way of catastrophizing separation, right? I can't be separated because this terrible thing is going to happen. So I have to stay
It will
close.
happen. Yeah, it will happen.
It will happen. And so I think the key thing in when we help children with anxiety disorders is give them, I mean, the most effective intervention is what we call cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT, which is basically giving you a toolkit to recognize when your mind is having you think these thoughts. It starts with learning relaxation, how to relax your body, how to do breathing that will bring down the physical feelings that you have of anxiety. But then after you learn some of those things about your body and how to calm your body, then you learn skills about how to, really, I mean, the work that we do is you like make a list of fears. Like, what are your different fears? And then how to sort of bring the thinking mind to the emotional mind. And, I think that's one of the big things I think parents need to know about anxiety, particularly school anxiety, is helping our kids avoid the thing that makes them afraid does not help anxiety, right? Because if you say, oh, honey, I know you are feeling so anxious about being separated from us. Let's keep you home from school and we'll do whatever.
Yeah.
That gives the message, wow, that situation is so scary that I'm going to protect you from having to face this fear. Now, of course, they're kids who can it's so overwhelming. You have to do it in a stepwise way, but
Sure.
a lot of treating kids with anxiety is managing our own anxiety. And we have a lot of anxiety in our family also. So, you have to because it's so upsetting to see your child being upset that you want to take them away from that hard situation. And what we really need to do is support them in the environment and give them the tools to be able to, manage the anxiety. But the other thing is anxiety goes up, it always comes down.
Yes.
I mean, that's just the reality of anxiety. So if you don't have an experience of like, this is never going to go away, and then it does, then you'll think that it's never going to go away. And you have to experience that it does.
Yeah. The biggest tool I probably learned when in therapy was that as how to recognize when it like kind of starts to happen. Because before it was like, all of a sudden, it's like you find yourself in this like storm of internal emotion and I don't know what to do. So the first thing to do is recognize it and then trusting that it will stop. It will, in the moment of sheer panic or these overwhelming anxious feelings will come to an end and there will be light at the end of the storm, if you will. So, and but knowing that is it's sort of an experience thing. It felt like, but seeing it early in children is I mean, it's such a powerful thing.
But these are very, I mean, I can reassure you that like a thing like that, like worrying that he won't be there to save the family from a calamitous event. It's good to know that kids who are having separation anxiety, that's a common thing they think. So it's like your kid is not being weird. That is actually how the brain works when you're feeling that anxiety. So I mean, you wish he wasn't feeling that, but the thing is, we know that we're comfortable with it. We can, we can reassure him and you that this is how people feel, and let's get the tools to help.
Yeah, I think, and you say generationally, it's so funny that my mom was always saying that she, that is in anxiety, the study of anxiety and things has fairly recent in general. So my mom then was diagnosed late in life, realized she had gone through it her whole life, and there's never any answers, especially in my mom's generation. It hit me later in life, but then seeing it in your child, there's a moment of feeling scared and like, oh, of course, I wish that I don't wish that on them. But on the other side, with my wife even helped me realize, but at least it's something that I can speak to him about. It's another thing if he has something, and all children have something, I'm sure, but if he is going through something that I've never dealt with before and I would have no idea how to, then it's a huge benefit for things like Little Otter, that I don't know what's going on, but I need an answer, or I need to help my kid through this.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. And look, some anxiety is good. Trust me, we don't want a world where people don't feel anxious. I mean, anxiety keeps us from being hit by cars. Anxiety helps
Mhm.
us, you know, learn the things we need to keep growing. So it's also just recognizing everyone has anxiety. It's
Yeah.
really when it gets out of control and is hurting you. But it's not like we're not trying to be in an anxiety free. I mean, it's just not what life is like.
Certainly not lately. Uh,
And not lately, but not ever.
if there was ever any hope, there wasn't, but we blew past that
Yeah.
2 years ago.
Yeah. So I actually wanted to tell you a little story for myself as a parent, because my second child had horrible separation anxiety, and taking him to preschool was a total nightmare. I mean, he would literally like cling to my leg.
Yeah.
And so we went through that. So I know how difficult it is. And he was 3. So one day after he'd been in school for 2 months, he came home from school and he said, I've decided to go to school more often. And it was but he'd been going all the time, but it was like, I'm ready to actually show up. I'm actually ready to like really be at school. And it was so interesting that he was going through this process and he got to a point where it's like, I think I can do this. And I think I'm going to show up
That's
there.
fantastic. I love the declaration of it too. When it's like,
All right.
I mean, you've been going all the time, but
Yeah.
but
it shows it's how he was feeling inside. It was like, he was resisting. He was there, but he was protesting. Like, I'm here physically, but I'm not really going to be showing up with my full self.
Yes.
Hey, I just want you to know we got to the end of the month, and you can pay the preschool. I'll do it next month. We'll give it a go. That's incredible. I really like that Little Otter, because I know I like the idea of the app. I like the idea of things being readily available. I think it's not necessarily new for people to be like, what, like in a moment being like, what's the answer to this? People do it with cooking and just normal stuff of just like, how do I do this? And just look up real quick, like a recipe. But I mean, how many times have we had a situation in a grocery store or, at the mall or just at the park, and you're just like, what was that?
Yep.
And and then of course you search it. And if you just search the internet, I mean, it's probably cancer, because that's what the internet will tell you about everything.
Of course, yeah. But I think the other thing, here's what we're trying to do at Little Otter. You might go Google it and look it up. You're not getting a recipe for your kid. You're getting a recipe for all kids. And what you need to know is not like what the average kid my kid's age does, but it's like, what do I do when my 4-year-old daughter who has XYZ does this? It needs to be personal. You need the general is not going to really help that much.
Yes, because I've actually had those situations myself where for instance, I have this thing with my daughter where we call it her getting stuck. We don't know if that's a medical term, but
it's a good term.
But it's just like, no matter if we've talked through a situation, like, in a way almost resolved it, they're still kind of like stuck in that feeling. And we'll research it. In the past we'd have researched it and looked it up, and then it'll always get to some point where it's like, and then they're hitting you, I assume, with a remote. Like, no, we're not there. No, we've taken a wrong turn somewhere. Now we're lost. And it's just kind of like a thing with where she's been like stuck lately, and we're just like, I don't know how to get you out of it. And it's one of those things where it's like, yeah, maybe the easy out is ice cream, but is that,
Yeah, well, but right, and that if it's ice cream,
you're
going to have a lot of stuckness because ice cream is really yummy.
Yeah, I know. And then yes, that's what that means. Oh, if I get stuck here, I'll get rewarded. And it's like, well,
yeah.
I know I got to put my socks on, but I'm feeling pretty stuck at the moment.
Yeah.
I'd like some chocolate chip, please.
Yeah.
Give her cereal. She just takes the spoon and drops on the floor. Ugh, I'm the worst.
Oh man.
Yeah. But I think that's just meeting with one of our parenting specialists at Little Otter to just be like, hey, this is what's happening, and we can ask some questions. Then there may be some advice in managing in the situation, or might say, hey, this makes us think about something else. I mean, that's what I would want. I mean, obviously, even as a child psychiatrist, you face this like, oh my God, what to do? And luckily I have a bunch of other friends who are child psychiatrists, so I could reach out to some experts as a friend. But do that all the time, like, oh my God, what's going on? How do I handle this?
So I want to switch gears a second and talk a little bit now from the perspective of you. So we have your perspective, and it's great information about being a child psychologist and a doctor. So I want the mom perspective. So like, one, I would assume all the time your kids grow up just thinking you're just reading their mind constantly.
They're like, yeah, stop being all psychiatry. Stop it. Like, I'll be like, so
I just said, do your
tell me
homework.
how you're feeling. It's just like, ugh, mom, like, yuck. So there's definitely that's an easy out of a conversation.
Sure.
So I think there's that. Yeah, I mean, but in the end, like, it's just the same in any of our work as grown-ups. We have our work life, and then we have our home life, and we're not, we're mom when we're home. Although I will say, when Rebecca, who I co-founded Little Otter with, when she tells about the origin of Little Otter, she's like, because I grew up and we could not go anywhere in Durham without running into someone who's like, oh my God, my kid's doing this. Can you recommend, something, which I love to do. I mean, but she grew up realizing that so many people were reaching out to me for help, and that they couldn't all see me,
Sure.
and that, how do we scale that and make that available to more people?
Did you have your degree before or after Dirt with Children? Like, when did all?
So I graduated from medical school, absolutely pregnant as could be, 8.5 months pregnant with Rebecca. Okay. Very funny pictures of me in my gown. And then I had my second child during residency. So when I was training, and then we decided to have a third child. It was right when I was starting my research career. Okay. And I was going to tell you our story. So we went to the obstetrician to have the first check at 10 weeks. And like, the baby looks fine. And I just had this funny feeling. So I was like, said to my husband, I'm just going to check out this other practice. You don't need to come. I'm in the ultrasound room, and the tech goes, no one told me this was a twin pregnancy. And look, I'm not a radiologist, but I look over and I'm like, oh my God, there are two heads there. What? And I'm 12 weeks by this point. So that was oy vey, right? We doubled the day they were born. We doubled our number of children. I mean, the other thing that was amazing is I had two separate placentae. So we thought they'd be fraternal twins, right? But turns out they're identical twins. So they came out, and I'm like, everyone's like, we had to put an O, one of my sons, Oliver and Leo. We literally took a Sharpie and drew an O on his hand.
Nice.
When we came home, because we were just getting to know. It was like, oh my God, what if we mix them up? That would really be bad. So
oh my God.
That's amazing.
My brother and sister are fraternal twins, but when my wife and I decided to have a second child, I was convinced. I mean, it was like, we're going to go from 1 to 3. It's going to happen.
Well, I have to tell you, never crossed my mind. I mean, it's been the most incredible thing. Having twins is amazing. Like, I remember when they were 2.5, one of them, I think it was Leo, was walking down the stairs, and he said, Mommy, do you know that Oliver and I share the same face? It's like, yes, you do. You share the same face. That would be the definition of being an identical twin. So,
did Oliver get a tattoo of an O on his hand or arm or something?
No, he has other tattoos, I'm sorry to say. One of them is a tattoo person, and the other one is not. That's sort of
that's easy to figure out.
Yeah, it makes it way easier.
Well, there you go. Now it's easy. But being a twin, I don't know about your brother and sister, but their bedroom was right near the kitchen. And one morning I was making coffee, and I heard them wake up, and one said, "Good morning, superhero Oliver," and the other one said, good morning, superhero Leo. And then they just got up and were in their imaginary world. So it's once you get through the first 2 years, I literally stop parents with new twin babies. And I'm like, you will survive. There is hope. You will survive. Get to 2.
I'm the nanny.
Yeah, it's like, well, you'll survive too, right?
Yeah.
Like, just don't lose hope. You will make it through.
That is so
and then
funny.
it's great because they play with each other and they have a playmate there all the time.
That's cool.
My mom would have needed you to say that. I was still in diapers when she had twins. So she had 3 in diapers, twins. Yeah.
Man, I was on this listserv when I was pregnant, and my favorite one was this woman who was like feeding her twins out of one bowl to give them their formula, and her sister was like, that's so awful, you should be giving them each their own bowl and treat them like individuals. And she just turned to her sister and said, oh, is that what you do with your twins? And that shut her sister up. And that's what I always say, like, don't talk to singleton parents about your twins. Like, they don't have any idea. Useless, utterly useless. Only talk to parents of multiples if you need advice, if you have.
Okay, so we'll keep the ball rolling here with with something that we talk about on our podcast all the time, which we coined them as dumb dad moments. We've come to find out they're really just dumb parenting moments, because no matter what your plan is, it's going to change, or you're going to be distracted. And so I will lead off this week with my dumb dad moment, and it was sort of a classic dumb dad moment. It also happened right in front of 2 moms at the park.
Perfect.
Which is perfect for this. Not a great look for me though. So my daughter's been wanting to go to the playground recently. So she said she wanted to go to the playground. I was like, we'll go to the playground today. So we're at the playground. She goes down the slide like 50 times. I mean, the whole thing is, Dad, we have to go this way. Dad, we have to go this way. My daughter's 3. So I'm following her everywhere. And she wants to go on the swings. The swings are now open. And at the park we go to, they have regular swings, as we all know, but they have like these swings that it's almost like a car seat. It's like a whole thing. You can just plop them in. There's no thing on the front or anything because it's such a deep dish thing. You just kind of push the kid in the swing. And so I plop her in there, and she doesn't want me to be in front of her. She wants me to push from behind. So I'm pushing from behind. I'm pushing from behind. The whole time she's saying, higher, higher, higher. So I'm pushing her. And then eventually she's trying to say something to me. And so I go around the front, and she's not saying it loud enough. And so I'm just kind of messing around with her. And as the swing gets close to me, I let the swing get so close that her feet touch me. And I say, hey, you kicked me. And she's giggling. And I was really just trying to find a different way to slow her down so that I could ask her what she was saying. I did it like 3 or 4 times in a row. And now she's kind of swinging down to almost a stop. And really what she was trying to say was like, I want to go higher or something. I said, okay, well, we'll start again. And I pushed the swing from the front, and it just dumped her right in front of me, right on the ground. I mean, because I just pushed it out from under her. And it's like, as soon as it happened, I was like, uh-oh. And the swing swings up, and now she's going to start to get up. So I run and grab the swing, which has like all this momentum.
Metal.
I'm catching this huge swing as she stands up. And so I pick her up, and she's looking at her knees. She was kind of scraped her knees a little bit. And so I'm holding her, and I'm apologizing to her. I was like, I'm so sorry. And these 2 moms were like, what they did say was, you're so lucky. She's so lucky to have a dad like you. You're such a good dad. And I'm thinking, like, I just dumped her out of the swing right in front of you.
What do your husbands do to your kid?
I know. Yeah, what should I have done? Tell her to get up? I mean, oh man, I felt so awful.
Oh.
But she was fine. She didn't even cry. I think it just really surprised her. But I felt so stupid in that moment. And here I'm just trying to be the fun dad taking her to the park. So I don't know if you have a good one, or Kevin, if you want to go next. I'm hoping Kevin has one. You better have
I always have one. When I don't have one, we'll shut the podcast down. I'm done. I'm graduated.
We did it.
I'm a hero.
We did it.
No, mine was I was with my son in the backyard, and he's 2.5, so he's got, that really short attention span of like, let's play together, and I'm like, let's play together, and we'll play with some dinosaurs, and now he's gone. Where are you going? And just his brain just thought of something else.
Yeah.
So it's over right now. So you're like, okay. So he was walking around, and I was just like walking with him, and he's just around the backyard, and we got him and really more from my daughter who's older, like a basketball hoop, one of those ones like filled with sand, and the hoop.
Mm-hmm.
And he's playing around with that thing, and I'm just like, give him a glance. He's just investigating, and I'm like, sure, not thinking anything of it. What he was doing was taking it apart, which was pretty impressive. He was unscrewing the nuts from where the beam is to hold the thing up. So he unscrews both of them, and he unscrews it facing with the hoop to his back. So he pulls up both pins, and then the hoop just comes crashing down on top of his head, slamming him into the ground. He was pretty upset. He was fine, zero injury at all. But I think he was just more scared of just like who slapped me in the back.
Now he's lost all faith and all trust. He'll never play basketball. I can tell you
I
that.
mean, it was a pretty good dribble.
Yeah. Well, definitely engineering or something.
If
there you go.
So those are two prime examples of pretty much a daily occurrence of apparently us injuring our children. But do you have? I'm sure you have something.
I have one. Now, of course,
Yes.
my kids are older now, and I
Mhm.
have those too. But what I was thinking about in coming on here was one time, and again, this is how you lose it with your kids, right? So
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
the kids, I can't remember if they were in the car or not, but those yogurts that have on the top M&Ms.
Yes.
I forget what they're called, and you open them up. And my 3 boys were there, and they were squabbling, and they went on and on. I was like, stopping it. And then finally one of them was distressed, and I said, give him the M&Ms, like really loud and really like yelling.
Yeah.
My children use that phrase with me all the time. This happened 15 years ago, and they will still tease me if I get upset, and they'll say, oh, give him the M&Ms. So it's like I'm sad to say that some of your worst moments, like when you're just yelling and they remember some of it and will tease you with it. I mean, for a very, very long time. So it's like,
really,
you dumb mom moment.
That's so good.
It reminds you that you are far from perfect.
Yes,
that's so good, because we've been having this thing lately with our kids. We've never called them bad kids, but a daughter, she's tried it out a few times, and she's already like losing steam with it. She's like, it's not working. We're she'll like do something, we're like, we don't do that. We like, what are you doing? Why would you paint on the wall or something? And then she goes, oh, I'm sorry, we're bad kids. And like, it's this thing that she tries out that we're like, my wife and I are always like, oh my gosh. And then so the other day both my kids came in, and they were doing something, and I was just like, hey guys, can you guys go play? Like, I think my wife was working, but I was talking to her about something real quick, and I was like, hey guys, I just need to finish up something with mom. Can you guys go wait in the living room real quick? I'll be right out there with you. And my daughter was like, yeah, absolutely. My son just goes, all right, we're bad kids. And my daughter goes, what are you talking about? It's like, you're doing it wrong.
Yeah. Well, that's how these things, pass between our kids and get carried on, as and we all survive even bad kid, bad mom moments.
I love it. They're great. They're nice, humbling reminders. They're like, all right, I'm not doing as good as I thought.
Yeah.
Okay, so is there anything that we didn't go over about Little Otter that you wanted to talk about, or let people know? I mean, certainly we want to let everybody know where they can go access it and everything, but
we've talked about this question of when you worry, and I think maybe it would be helpful for me to just say some of the things that you should look out for if
Yes.
your child,
Please,
because
yes.
I think that's, because obviously it's good, you're going to have anxiety symptoms or other things, but the key thing that we're looking for are things that aren't transient, that stick around, right? So if one day your child says they have a tummy ache before doing something, but then it's fine after that, that we're always looking for a pattern and something that's lasting and going on. So that's the first thing. The second thing is it happening like not just in one setting, but is happening in different settings? Like it's, you're seeing anxiety at school and at home, and in different places. So it's not just one situation to deal with. The other thing is it happening with more than one person, right? Because sometimes if a kid is only having problems or symptoms with just one person, then maybe there's some problem in that relationship. Not always, but you want to look at that. But really, when a child's having a mental health challenge, it'll happen, really with each of the parents, et cetera. So those are the other things. I think one of the things that you brought up is that little children and even middle school kids and teenagers often express feelings they're having of fear or sadness in physical ways. And that can be in tummy aches and pains. It could be trouble falling asleep or staying asleep. So that things that can seem sort of like physical issues really can often have their roots in something that's bothering the child inside. And that's the same with, I'm going to use air quotes here, bad behavior, which is not the way we think about things, is that little kids who don't have words and are learning these skills may have a tantrum or be aggressive or something. And it looks like that's just a behavior, stop doing that. But really, that's one of the ways they communicate how they're feeling inside. So I say that, one of the ways parents can approach things is with this curious mind and sort of as a kind of a detective. Well, is there a pattern that's going on? What was happening before this thing happened? What happening after? What other things are going on at the same time?
So you're talking about things like tantrums too, like you're not just talking about
like tantrums, anxiety, difficulties with eating, sleeping. I mean, all of these areas, the common emotions and behaviors are ways. Sometimes it's just, all 3-year-olds have tantrums. I'll just tell you that right now. But that, how do you tell if something's going on that you should be worried about? And then, what we're trying to provide at Little Otter is information and resources and care for all families, so that so you can feel comfortable. And we always say at Little Otter that parents are actually the experts of their children. We have expertise we can bring to the table and be your partner in figuring out what's going on, but our job is to empower parents to have the tools to be able to understand what's going on, to help their child learn skills that can help them manage big feelings and big challenges. So, and I think the last thing is, we've all been going through a very terrible time for these last 2 years, and it is impacting kids' mental health, and it's really impacting parent mental health. So I just would want to give the message to parents who are listening to your podcast, if you're struggling with anxiety or depression, one of the best ways that you can support your child is to get mental health care for yourself. And
yes,
putting yourself first is not at all selfish. It's the very best thing you can do for your child.
Well, and as you said before in the podcast or earlier in the podcast, that's to be in the right mindset to teach your children and guide your children through what they, of course, are going to see. And many times it's a big, scary world. You want to be at your best as well. And that includes mental health and all things involved. So, I think that's important, and that's well said.
And just to circle back to something you just said. So when my wife listens to this podcast and she hears the story about the basketball hoop, hitting my son, I need to remind her that I'm the expert.
Yeah.
Exactly. You're like, I'm so, yes, because you so expertly dealt with it when the thing fell on his head,
Couldn't have
right?
handled it better.
That's
Couldn't have
right.
handled
You're
it
gonna you comforted
after it
him.
happened.
He didn't exactly, and
After
falling
it
out of the
happened.
swing.
Yep.
But actually, that actually is true. That I know it sounds like a
Yeah.
joke, but it's actually true. It's not. We can't prevent all bad things
No.
happening to our kids. We just can't. I mean, and you have to realize that. But
Yeah.
what we can do is help our children when they face hard things or they're hurt, or and the best thing you can give your child is the confidence that they have loving parents who are going to be there for them, who, you know, are there to help them in any way and who love them. So, you
Yeah.
know, everyone's going to fall, but it's how you pick them up and comfort them after the fall.
Awesome.
That's again, well said. Well, thank you so much for sitting down with us.
Oh, it's wonderful.
Today.
Thank you for having us. We Little Otter, myself, and we are obsessed with you all. So you're, we really are. We just
Thank you.
love everything that you're doing, and we feel really fortunate to have the opportunity to work with you.
I think we feel fortunate as well. And thank you for saying that. We feel fortunate as well to be involved with Little Otter. And it kind of goes back to something, again, that we said earlier in the podcast. Like, how amazing is it that we're doing this right now? 3 separate locations. We're talking together about this importance of mental health for children. And when I was a little kid, there was no internet. So, I mean, to innovate is important because technology moves fast and parenting changes and things change. And so,
and we can connect, because that's what it's all about. It's all with our kids and ourselves. It's all about relationships and being able to, you know, do what we're doing right now, which is connecting and sharing and learning from each other.
So it's littleotterhealth.com. Well, right. And you can follow us, Dumb Dad Pod, on social. We're the Dumb Dads on YouTube. And I think that's pretty much all you need to know. Am I missing anything, Kev? What's your cell phone number, Kevin? Let everybody know how to get a hold of you.
Okay, here we go. Bleep this out.
You don't even have to memorize that anymore.
No.
So before we go, I'll tell us. We'll leave with a horrible joke, and we'll all make fun of the joke, and then we can say see you later. What do you call a fake noodle?
A fake noodle? I don't know. What do you call it?
That would be an impasta.
Okay. That's
impasta.
Gross.
Horrible. I know.
Dr. Helen, sorry, and thank you.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.